I'm going to make the glaze for you. This is 1.5 pounds of powdered sugar. I've made a well in the center, and I'm putting 8 tablespoons, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the idea here is you're going to take a wooden spoon. It's softer and it kind of grabs the sugar, and I'm going to mix the sugar in here kind of slowly until it dissolves, and I'm going to end up with a thick glaze on here that's just sort of opaque. As you can notice in here that it's clear, but when I'm done with this, it's going to be smooth and white. So the 8 tablespoons of water that I've added to this may not be enough by the time we're finished. So you'll add a little bit at a time because you want the glaze to be thick, but you want it to be the right consistency so it will cover the top of the scones. So I'm going to continue this. This takes a bit of time. Stirring the glaze takes about 15 minutes, and so you're going to come up with a very thick glaze. And so what we're going to do now, you can do it by eye, adding a little bit of extra water, or at the beginning when you're getting used to the measurements, you can add using a standardized measuring spoon. All right, and we just want to make it a little more pourable. Just stirring, working that in. Now, one thing about the glaze, if you need to, you can make this the day before and have that ready, or have it ready, before you do your scones, which is good depending on your time. Okay, this is looking good. We see the ribbon here, and when I lift this up, we have a ribbon. We don't want to have the ribbon disappear. That would mean that it would be too thin. So that ribbon is what I see when I let it drop, so it doesn't disappear really fast. It's perfect. Okay, now we're going to add 2 teaspoons of maple flavoring. And I have to admit that ideally you should use extracts instead of flavoring, because many times the flavoring will leave an aftertaste because they're chemicals that simulate the actual thing, like vanilla flavoring, for example, isn't really vanilla flavoring. Those are chemicals. But in this case, I'm adding maple flavoring, and I have to admit that as a kid, my mom used to make a maple spice cake with a maple flavor, a spice cake with maple buttercream, and I just love the flavor, and I don't notice an aftertaste with this. So we want it to be really, really mapley. So I don't follow the rules all the time. Okay, so we'll make this. And this is extremely aromatic, which adds to the delectability of these scones. So you see how nicely the wooden spoon works really well, because we don't want to rub metal with metal. I don't think that's a good idea. It's very noisy, and the spoon works, the wood works much better, capturing all of this, the texture of the glaze. Okay, here we have it. Now our scones are cooled to lukewarm, and we'll get those. So I have, again, some parchment paper, which, again, helps the cleaning of this next process. We're going to go, you just dip from the back to the front, and just let that drip off. And so the parchment paper is going to prevent, just lightly, because this spreads just a little bit. And some of the scones are bigger than the other, which is okay. We want to cover the top here. Just let it drip out naturally. And let's see, I have this little space right there. I want to cover that. It just means a little extra for that one. Okay. And then this will set up, and you can serve them. If you do this when the scone is too hot, first of all, the scone will fall apart. And secondly, the glaze will melt and you will have a very thin layer, and that means you're going to have to glaze them again, which is, time consuming. But so we have enough glaze here for all of the scones that you would be making for the formula. There we go. And now it's time to let them sit. Get yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and enjoy.